The Square Ball Podcast.
Welcome to the show. It's brought to you in association with Levi Solicitors, who will give you a 10% discount on your legal fees at levisolicitors.co.uk/the Square Ball. Dan Moylan with you, along with Michael Normanton and Moscow White as well. Daniel Chapman. So this is Propaganda. This is the Leeds half, where we find out what you think of Leeds United's most recent performance. There is another half to come as well. It'll be about the Everton game. We'll hear from Everton fans, will we, Michael?
We will.
Are they?
Mainly Scousers. One Brummie. I think we've had him before. Blue Boys Network. Mm-hmm. Boys with a Z.
That makes it sound very cool indeed. Propaganda Extra as well in your podcast feed every single week with bonus bits of propaganda. Let's get into the Leeds United fan opinion then. And this is feedback that we received from our TSB Plus members. And part of that feedback is scoring people out of 10 on a match-by-match basis. And we're going to run this like over the course of the season as well. And we'll be able to track the player of the year, which is very exciting, like in real-time data.
Are we going to give them an award? I think we just don't bother them.
We were saying, Michael was suggesting he might make it or go full Radrazani and have his kids make it.
Seems fair.
It's an option. For now, I use a random emoji generator, and when I put the list of how every player did into the daily email after the game, I put a random emoji next to the one that's won.
Yeah, in this case, it's Luis Sinisterra who got the top marks for the Everton game.
And he got a ladybird.
Yeah, very nice. Seems to suit him somehow.
7.72 out of 10, ahead of Tyler Adams, 7.57. The only two players who scored more than 7, although I do feel a lot of pity for Robin Koch at 6.99. Only one more person had voted him over 6.99. Maybe that would have been very different. Jesse Marsh got 6.05. As I was, I have to set this going at the end of the game, and as I was leaving Elland Road, I added the referee to the list. And
give him his full title that's on the sheet, please.
Well, I didn't do it at the time because I just had to type it in goal, but he is now, Darren England, the dickhead ref, got, as I thought he might, 2.13.
As much as that?
A generous 2.13.
The other highlights, lowlights, I guess, would be Diego Llorente, who got 4.48, which is low. That's less than 4.5.
And fairly well. I mean, it's lower than Rodrigo, who just basically missed a cross and then had a shoulder fall out and then went off.
Yeah.
And he was worse than that.
I wonder how much of the 5.38 that he got was kind of pity votes, because he did look in a lot of pain.
He did, to be fair.
Bless him.
Well, on the other game in general, Moscow, because obviously you weren't here for the match ball, I said to Dan before we started recording it, I bet Moscow hated that.
No, I loved it.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
I thought you hated it.
Why?
I thought you...
Because it was frantic and shapeless.
I think it was frantic and Warnocky.
Oh, it was.
It was shapeless, wasn't it?
I still enjoyed it. You like Warnock now? Is that what you're saying?
I mean, it was very, very low quality, but really engaging. Like, you couldn't take your eyes off it, and there was a fight, and then it was breaking out on the touchline, and every time you looked down to the dugouts, there was Frank Lampard was having a go at the fourth official, and Jesse Marsh is wandering around with his pointing to his watch, and then Meslier trying to fight Anthony Davies, and it just felt like it was kicking off all over the place.
Tom Davies,
Anthony Gordon, I'm getting them mixed up, and just kind of bit of a battle and a fun Tuesday night out. So as a football match, like if you're going to score it as like aesthetic beauty, then no, but didn't mind.
Good. Well, let's start then, shall we, on Llorente, the low scorer from the marks. We should say at the end of the show, we'll give you the update on the latest Player of the Year tracker. That's exciting, isn't it? Llorente, performance art, says Googlop, was the phrase used there.
It was very unusual. I watched the extended highlights back. The full 90 is still not on LUTV for some reason at the moment, because I was going to watch it all back. But even from the extended highlights, there's a moment in the second. Obviously, everyone's seen the goal multiple times, but there's a bit in the second half as well where he has loads of time and just absolutely leathers it clear out of play. And you just saw it was one of those nights for him. We just like, what is going on?
Well, we've had a comment here from Frank Lampard's ever-expanding bald spot, describes it as the Llorente paradox. How is it possible for him to simultaneously have a 90% pass accuracy and look like a total bomb scare whenever the ball's near him? It's true, isn't it?
I mean, we signed Llorente because Liam Cooper was Liam Cooperish and unreliable and did things a bit mad sometimes. And now everyone's just like, get Cooper back in, put him back in the team immediately. I mean, he is playing on the wrong side, isn't he, Llorente, at the moment?
I always feel like that shouldn't matter as much as people make it matter. You've got 2 feet, use the other one.
Although he did, for their goal, he did very clearly try and kick that ball with the wrong foot.
Yeah, and he should have just... He would have been better off just stopping moving.
I got confused, I realised, on the match ball, thinking about the one that was given offside, where Llorente got pulled across towards the ball, and the goal that they actually scored, where he did that. I mean, it was like the river dance, wasn't it? Kind of thing.
He was looking... He's looking somewhere else, is the problem on it. When you watch it back in slow-mo, he's looking over to his left somewhere, and then it's like he realises the ball is passing by his feet and it's too late, and he does a little scissory thing.
Does he even realise it's a ball, though? He just sees it as a moving object and then jumps out of the way, scared.
I mean, that whole goal is a mess, and I think Llorente is sort of at the end of it, because from the moment Sinisterra tackles Anthony Gordon, nobody picks up Gordon. And he goes away from Sinisterra, he goes away from Christensen, who was going in to tackle him before Sinisterra got there, and he goes past Adams, away from Roca, and then he's running at Llorente, who I think is looking at those midfielders and going, are none of you going to run with him? And then Llorente's caught between going to Mark Gordon, and then the ball comes, and he ends up it goes through his legs and falling over, and it was kind of...
classic Llorente.
So, well, it's not just him. It was a bunch of players standing and watching as Everton's most dangerous player ran into our penalty area, and none of them taking responsibility until it ended up in the net. And even Meslier letting the shot through his legs. It's kind of, but I suppose as it goes through, it's more and more difficult to stop. It's like an accelerating train. It's getting faster and faster, so it's harder and harder to stop. So Meslier is kind of right at the end getting completely flattened by it, but. None of those players did a good job of anything on that goal.
One of the Everton clips I listened to was praising it as being a great through ball from Iwobi. And I thought, well, if Llorente just stands still, it just hits him and doesn't even get there. So it's not a good through ball. It was stepped over by our centre-back.
He jumped over it like, in the Tom and Jerry cartoons, when I think the mouse obviously comes out of the skirting board and someone jumps, that kind of vibe. On the offside goal, the comments just simply say, that was a bit close, wasn't it?
That's what I just added that. No one was obviously talking about it in the feedback, because I guess it's not as much fun as complaining about things. But in the ground, I had no idea that was that close.
Well, I mean, do we need to concentrate on how we got away with it and our weaknesses when we can just throw shade at other people? That is a lot more fun.
Yeah, I suppose so. It one of those that did sort of look onside, though. I'm sure his knees or his shoulders are offside, but.
It's one of those where if you saw the Everton reaction to it, it was, how is this offside? Whereas I look at that as a Leeds fan, Moscow, and I go, well, yeah, I can see he's offside. It looks marginal, but it looks offside.
Yeah, I think in our ideal interpretation of the rules, that gets given. Because it's not an offside goal, he's timed the run, so give the goal. But
his feet are level, aren't they? But
yeah, but the rules as they are, if they draw the lines, then fine, but I don't really like them drawing the lines there and all that kind of stuff. So just relieved it wasn't given, and relieved Meslier stopped the other one, and there was a good one when they broke. Well, it was a bad one when they broke, but Stroik got back and made a very good saving tackle to stop another break when it looked like they were going to score as well. So, but that was in the second half, all of those, and we were really going for it in attack. So we're putting a lot of players forward. So we were a little bit more, even more exposed at the back than we normally are. It is definitely a feature of what we're doing, is that we're going to be. Diagonal ball, counter-attack is our weakness, but we made ourselves even weaker because we were trying to get a goal.
Final thought on Llorente. All the composure of a weak juggler being held at gunpoint, says Jelly, which I liked.
Jelly's wider point was a good one, actually, because he talks about Meslier's distribution being pointed out as poor, but practically every poor kick was preceded with Llorente playing it onto his weaker right foot after dancing on it for 18 touches. And it's true. It's Llorente seems to have a problem, and Marsh mentioned it after the Brighton game as well, where he said that he was the one who was freestyling because he wasn't playing out the way he wanted. He just wanted him to go long, and instead he's trying to find short passes all the time, and he seemed to be doing it again against Everton, looking for a pass, not being able to find one for some reason, even though I think somebody else would be able to, and then just giving it to Meslier under difficult circumstances. And I think he's making Meslier look a bit worse than he has any reason to.
Speaking of difficulties, Peter V does ask on corners and crossing, are they that difficult? The answer to that is yes. Let's get on to Everton's time wasting because, as I was saying, there's no point in bloodletting too much about Leeds. Let's just throw shade at them. We had someone in the YouTube comments, Michael, didn't we, called Sam Pigeon, who has done some analysis on this.
Yeah, he only got as far as the first half, but he totaled up throw-ins and goal kicks and free kicks for Everton, and they wasted 11 minutes and 24 seconds in the first half.
And this is not just a hobby that Sam's indulging in. It seems to be somebody who does some live stats work for most of the Leeds games. So there's a reason for this. Yeah, it was how long? Sorry, 11 minutes and 24 seconds in the first half,
and that's just from Everton's wastefulness.
Yes,
right. It's interesting, isn't it, that there was the stats doing the rounds now about ball in play times for Premier League sides, and we're actually one of the lowest. Are we the bad guys?
Well, we've played Wolves and we've played Everton, so it's a manipulated data set, is that, because those two are pretty much the worst, and in both games they took the lead.
Yeah.
So that essentially equals no football to be played.
Then. So we're fine.
I think so. We don't hang around at all.
Right then, on this then, let's hear from Jip.
They are up there with Wolves as a bunch of time-wasting twats. I hope Frank Lampard loses more hair and gains 3 stone in the next few weeks. Other than that, I just wanted to focus on Tyler Adams and just say how in the space of 5 games, he's become pretty much indispensable.
Yeah, good point.
And booked for nothing.
Yes, and
I wanted to watch a replay of that as well. That's one of the reasons I wanted the full 90, because he seemed to be booked for something that Everton players had done consistently.
Systematically, Michael. Let's use that phrase.
Go on then.
I don't think he even blocked the free kick, particularly. They kicked it sideways, an Everton player fell over. The referee stopped the game and booked Tyler Adams.
Yeah, he seemed to be booked for the fact that Davies, for some reason, stood on the ball and fell over.
Yeah, if they played on, I think it would have been fine. You just let the move go and nothing would have happened. But because Davies fell over, had to be a yellow card for the player who was standing a good 10 feet away from him.
There is an angle on that does look a little bit like Tyler Adams has lunged in with his, not lunged in, but his left foot has gone forward to try and block that.
Well, I won't look at that angle and just continue in my little world.
No, but on that, like you say, it was once and he got carded, but none on the other side. It's like, if you're going to start booking for that, just be consistent. That's all we ask, isn't it? Dremmett, what's Dremmett had to say?
Diving, cheating, time wasting, bastards. 20 minutes of time wasting. I mean, I feel sorry for the Everton fans. They've literally bought Tarkowski to teach them how to play boring Dyche bollocks, and Conor Cody to teach them how to dive and time waste.
LUSA suggests they had never had a problem with Everton until that prick, they describe him as, took over. Prick club, prick players, prick manager, etc.
I mean, I will say they did have Richarlison and Gordon still last year, so they didn't need Cody to do to teach them these things.
It's a statement of intent, though, isn't it? Getting Tarkowski and Cody, and then Lampard's post-match was,
and they've got the other Burnley player as well. They signed McNeil as well, didn't they?
Yeah.
Who Alioski pulled faces at once.
Yeah, he did one. He was dangerous for about 5 seconds on Tuesday night, and then that was it. But Lampard's post-match, where he said, the Leeds fans were obsessed with our time wasting, which was a bit weird. So I reminded me so much of kids I was at school with that used to just wind me up constantly. Oh, why are you bothered about that? A bit weird that you're bothered, isn't it? We weren't even doing that, and I'm proud of this, so I'm putting it out there. I've coined that as gas lamping.
Which was excellent.
Yes, and it's...
I was really pleased, especially with the person who tweeted you to say, no, there should be gas lamparding, and just let this joke sail straight over their head.
Well, they got the joke, didn't they? They just felt it needed clarification, and it didn't, but that was fine. I welcomed the tweet. But yes, gas lamping not been used. I'd even checked, has anybody used this in a context with Frank before? As far as I can tell, true original. So you've heard it here first.
Gas lamping.
Like and subscribe.
Don't forget to hit that button, guys.
Yeah.
That's what you got to say, isn't it? Let's hear from Nathan.
All right, lads, it's Wednesday morning as I record this, and rumour has it that Frank Lampard is still chuntering onto the fourth official at Ellen Road. Jordan Pickford, he's still walking across the 6-yard box to retake his goal kick in front of the south stand. Honestly, if those time-wasting, horrible Scouse bastards survive, it'll be a complete miracle. Fuck Lampard, fuck Everton.
I do think they're in trouble this season, the way they're setting up.
I mean, we'll come on to the Everton clips in a bit. they thought it was all right.
Really?
Was the gist of it. So, yeah.
I know you kind of got sometimes teams have got to go and spoil away from home, haven't they? But
it's all they did last year as well. Like I said it on the match ball. At the end of last season when they were doing it, as we were, I suppose, we were shapeless and looked like we didn't have any actual style. It was like, we need to scrap for every point and be horrible, and this is what Everton were doing. I mean, it was in the Liverpool game, wasn't it, when Pickford was taking ages over things, when Alisson decided to take the piss of him, when he caught the ball and then was laying down with it, and it was very funny. It was good. But that was at the end of last season. You could sort of understand it then. But now Lampard, this wonderous up-and-coming young coach, has had a summer to work with these players, and he's just basically got them doing the same thing. I
think what's jarring is that they've gone into survival mode immediately from the start of the season.
And you've got to have some pride. I mean, Liverpool are going for the title and having a bit of a struggle at the start of the season, not at the best. But if you're an Everton fan and you've got that cross-city rivalry, there isn't one. Because look at how good Liverpool can be. And then Everton's best idea is Pickford lying on the ball and everyone going, oh, that's great.
I mean, they didn't. The goal they scored was not a chance they created either, really, was it? It was our mistake.
Chelsea's new winger did a great bit of skill to score, and that was it.
It's funny, isn't it, to contrast the response to our style, like when we beat Chelsea, everyone absolutely made up with it. But there's quite a number of comments, people who are sort of saying our style was a little bit industrial, a tough watch it was described as by a couple.
I do think our style does clash a bit with the thing Everton were doing, which was essentially to leave everyone back, like just two banks of defenders.
Particularly in the middle as well.
Because it meant there was not... The thing of winning the ball back high up doesn't particularly work if there's still like 8 players there. Whereas against Chelsea, because they are attempting to be a bit more ambitious, it means when you win it back, sometimes there's the ball's on the line and you just need to tap it in. But there's an opportunity there for there to be spaces, whereas it was also compact. It just never really felt like that was going to happen.
That's the point that Keith made, actually, describing the first half as miserable. The all-in high pressing works. It doesn't think it works, against the deep lying low block, expending a lot of energy, getting nowhere. I think we need to have more patience, says Keith. Try and draw them out.
We kind of saw the worser end of Marsh's football. I remember we talked about this last season as one of the tactics used. We were doing the thing where we give them the ball and tackle them. And he said afterwards, when he was talking about how the game had gone, I said, obviously we have some tactics and movements of how we want to play when we're in this situation, when we've got the ball. But if they know that we're going to counter press, if Everton know that we are going to counter press and be very effective in that tactic, it can also be an effective way to break a team that is actually by losing the ball and winning it back. So right away, when that opponent is relaxed, it's all quite garbled on the transcript, and then finding a way to attack them again. So we were doing the thing of, there were quite a lot of balls going forward that we didn't have a chance of getting, and then we were going for the second ball. So give them the ball, because we love pressing, press them, tackle them, and try and score that way. And that's why it doesn't really make for, it's the least appealing part of what Marsh promotes. And he has a kind of there's a webinar, like an hour and a half with him, where he explains all his tactics and stuff, and he's talking about counter pressing and tackling high and all that kind of stuff. And one of the questions from one of the coaches is like, what do your teams actually do in possession? He's like, and he's the same answer as this. Obviously, we have some tactics and movements in possession, but one thing you can do is give them the ball and then try and tackle them again. And it's kind of, he's much more about, I think it makes us look, as the commentator then was saying, that we don't look patient and we don't look too relaxed in the build-up, is because instead of being patient and kind of having the ball and trying to draw them out, we'll go for that as a tactic, and we'll try and it's not, it's not terror. It works. We did put a lot of pressure on Everton that way, and they didn't seem to, we dominated the match and seemed, apart from when we were counted against, we were the team that looked more likely to score. So it works in that sense. But it's going to end up with a lot of people replying as to how here, because there are a lot of comments that have come in with people saying that was pretty bad to watch.
Ilkley Arsehole says, what is the difference between Warnock's rash and Marsh's Red Bull shit hoofball? I think Jesse needs a little help from someone who knows the league, someone looking for a last challenge. I think it is different insofar as there's very much an emphasis on pace in this team. Like you need pace and skillful players.
Yeah.
Whereas Warnock brought us Tongi, Norris, Green, Brownie, Varney. They were our midfield and attack, and there was nothing there. Like possibly all of those players individually could have been all right in a functional team, but bringing them all together just made the whole thing unbearable.
And I do think there are, and even in the Everton game, this did happen. Not as much as maybe in the Chelsea game, but those little tight interplays. You know, sometimes it can look chaotic and a bit pinbally, but actually when it works and they're doing those little layoffs in the really tight areas, it looks amazing.
Yeah, it's the concentration is very much. That's where it has the similarity with Warnock Ball and Wilkinson. Howard Wilkinson, to an extent, is of play your football up their end of the pitch. And so all those little triangles and interplays happen around their penalty area. And then it's like, how do you get there? Just get there as quickly as you can, and don't worry about it at the back. And I think it does.
And it's sort of play through the lines rather than lump it forward, isn't it? That's the general vertical passing.
Yeah, although I think there was a bit of lumping on Tuesday because there was balls going to Joffrey that he's never going to win in the air, because we know that we're going to go for the second ball. Adams, Aronson, Rocker are going to go in there and win it, and then we play from there. But we do look at times, sometimes the triangles up front are decisive and kind of very particular, getting us into the penalty area. Sometimes Llorente is maybe a victim of it. Further back, we do look a little bit like we don't know what to do. There's not this sense of a build-up from the back with purpose. If we end up passing in our half, it quickly deteriorates where the players we don't really know where we're going, so it'll go back to Meslier and then we'll hit it long. Because all the emphasis is just on everything happens in the opponent's penalty area, and then you get a game like this where there's 4 Everton defenders in that penalty area already, and it becomes difficult to break down. And so it's not a pretty game, but it can be an exciting game.
On Adams, not only was he not quite the MVP for this match, but it was just shy of it, wasn't he? He came second.
He was mine.
He's one of the as long as you knew, Michael, that's the important bit. As long as you were right.
That's what he cares about.
Yeah, I think you might have deleted the person's name off the sheet here, or it's not quite made it. But this person, whoever you are, thank you, suggesting that Adams is good, and only giving up 1 goal a game with our set piece defense has been mostly good. And he's asking if we actually conceded anything from them. Barnsley we did, didn't we?
Yes.
Set piece. But
that was a reserve team, though. I don't think anyone knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
I mean, on the general playing out from the back as well, there's a bit of feedback on Christensen. Mixed. House of Stouts says he's genuinely terrible. Game in, game out. Why we're still starting him? Probably because Ayling's not fit. And
he also needs time to bed in
we're giving
him
a go. Whereas Wisconsin Todd said he thought he had some fun scraps.
It felt like he grew into that game. Just the final thought on Adams, sorry. John Boy does suggest that we undersold Adams' contribution, where I suggested that he gets the ball and passes it backwards. Yeah, that was I was being deliberately reductive there. But he kicked off some of our best moves, says John Boy, with his dead-eye, arrow, penis ball passes into the 10s, especially in the second half. Sorry, you were saying on Rasmus.
Yeah, I thought the second half was his best game for us, if you can take that in isolation. First half, he got done really badly by Gordon at one point, where it was
1 point.
Well, there was one really bad one where he ended up running about 10 yards past him when Gordon turned him, and it was like, oh my God.
Yeah, his positioning's not quite there yet, is it?
I think sometimes he's all in a way that means he's also completely in nowhere at times, because he bombs into stuff, and you think if you don't get there, the pace you're at, you're leaving.
What Firpo's prone to doing, actually, isn't it?
It's the thing of as a fullback giving someone a yard. He doesn't do that. He tries to give them not a millimetre, but then sometimes ends up giving them about 10 yards.
But the thing the one in the first half you're thinking of with Gordon, he gave him about 5 yards and still got beaten. It was awful. And I kind of his second half improvement passed me by a little bit because he was on the far side, and so when I saw that Gordon one, I pick on it particularly because it happened right beneath me, and was dreadful. But I saw less of that. I saw less of him in the second half because he was so far away. But I enjoyed him. It's a bit weird that he got pushed over by Gordon, and that's the other thing about Christensen is he does seem to get kind of knocked off the ball quite a lot, given how hard he's supposed to be. I've yet to really see him like 50-50 challenges and aerial balls and stuff. He tends to just get knocked, and I'm looking for where this big, strong. We compared him. I think his arrival was similar to when we first saw Rob Molinar going a long way back, but this huge Dutchman who was instantly nicknamed the Terminator and hated it because he said, I look nothing like Arnold Schwarzenegger. He did a bit. But he was so big and strong and won every ball, ground and air, and got beaten lots of other ways, but just was as strong as he looked. Christensen's not really lived up to that yet, but I suppose it ain't 1997 anymore. But second half, yeah, apparently was better, but it was in the distant wilds on the far side of Elland Road.
Oh, that was on my side. I loved it, Moscow. Absolutely loved it.
I just felt like he was much more competitive, and he won an early tackle against Gordon, and it felt like it just leveled things up a bit, and then it became more of a battle. He didn't win everything, but it became a battle, and there was at least a bit of give and take. You
could tell he was sort of running on a bit more on adrenaline, like it was kind of, I've got this now. Whereas you think maybe he's kind of he's been feeling his way into the division, hasn't he?
He did a good job as well of not filling Gordon in when they went head to head, getting away with the yellow card instead of a red.
You mean 80s
restraint?
80s teen movie villain Gordon, as Wisconsin Todd describes him. Just a quick note on him as well. We will discuss Anthony Gordon more in Heroes and Villains on the weekly show. Producer Jack has been in touch. I do like this comment. Says, I know what you lot didn't talk about on the match ball. How come no one has ever seen Anthony Gordon and my old primary school dinner lady in the same place? Conspiracy, I reckon. Makes you think.
Doesn't it just?
It does make you think. Finally then, on this show, let's mention Lampard. Because Cookridge White says, due to the limited abuse given to Fat Frank during the match, please can you spare 5 minutes to discuss his bald spot, his anti-football on show last night, and just some general comments / abuse?
Yeah, with pleasure.
Yeah, I mean, from the other thing I could see from the West End was, as well as Christensen, the top of Lampard's head. That's maybe the reflection of the floodlights is maybe why I couldn't see the second half. The rest of the pitch was... but for the record, there's nothing wrong with being bald. No. Michael is bald. It's fine. It happens to...
But Michael embraced it at a very early age and just got on with it. And wears it well. We've said before, like we do, poke fun at you for it, but you wear it well.
And unlike Lampard, decision I took, just get rid, just as the same way as Lampard gets upset at being called fat. Yeah. It's fine. Just wear that well too.
You suit your head.
Yeah.
You look better bald than you ever did hairy. And then... But where it's funny with Lampard is because he's clearly so vain that he is going to be unable to deal with just what a catastrophic potato will be revealed when finally the last strands have fallen out just as he ticks past his 55th birthday. And he is not going to... Well, there'll probably be a transplant in there that will go wrong.
You can speak to
growing out of his face.
You should speak to Conte.
Yeah,
Conte's that's worked well.
But Conte is swarthy Italian and just wears everything well, doesn't he? Really.
Don't get the same guy who did Wayne Rooney's. Is all I would say to him, because he appears to have put pubic hair in place.
Yeah, and again going back to the whole potato thing.
Yeah, I mean, why Rooney even bothered with the vanity of a hair transplant is an absolute mystery, because you cannot polish a turd with Rooney.
And before you get all uppity in the comments going, you're taking cheap shots at people's physical appearance. Yes, we are.
Well, only Frank Lampard, really. Well, and Anthony Gordon, in fairness. Yeah. But they're both dreadful people, so it's fine.
But apart from
if
that...
they were nice, it'd be fine.
Exactly.
Speaking of nice people, the Player of the Year ratings, which we can update week by week. Now, if you want the full...
There'll be more Lampard hate in Heroes and Villains, by the way.
Yeah. If you want the full breakdown of these, we're going to be listing them in the mag this season as well, so have a look at that, because we don't want to do a full list of all the entire squad. But your top three at the minute then. So scores have come down slightly, the averages have come down based on the previous game. Tyler Adams in third place, 7.46 average rating, 7.6 for Brendan Aronson, and out in front still Ilan Meslier, down from his average of 8 last time to 7.8 this time, but still on track to be Player of the Year. Jesse Marsh's score so far, 6.55.
It's all right. Better than it would have been last year.
Yeah, and it'll probably creep up if and when we make our assault on Europe this season, on the European place.
It's already happening, isn't it? What are we? 6th?
Yeah, we're doing well. And we're
the season ends now.
How many points are we clear of the bottom clutch of clubs?
Loads.
Is it like 5?
How many, Dan, how many points have we got and how many goals have we scored?
I can tell you that without looking, Michael. I believe we have 8 points on the board. Do you know how many goals we've scored? 8.
There you go. That's how it works,
It tracks.
Isn't it?
It absolutely tracks, doesn't it? And not my stat. That was Sporting Intel. Nick Harris on Twitter has done the graphs and the spreadsheets on this. And it's remarkably close. So the more we score, the higher we'll get. The more points we'll get.
It sounds a lot like my kicking it in the net. Levels of simplicity.
Are you arguing with the numbers?
No. If you score goals, you will get points. That is true.
Good. Right. More propaganda to come. Then we will dive into the the fan channels of Everton, which will be a treat, and we'll find out what they thought of it. It's on the way in a bit for you.
The Square Ball Podcast.